You're listening to the Infinite Banking Mastery Podcast. Did you know that you could build a tax-free pool of wealth that's liquid and accessible all your life while building your retirement nest egg? Gain full control of your financial future and stop relying on the government and banks. The wealthy have already discovered this wealth-building secret. Now it's your turn to get financially secure without following the conventional wisdom that keeps you in debt to banks. Now here's your host, Valerie LaRocque.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Since this is my first show, I thought I would start off by telling my story and giving an introduction as to how I got into the financial services industry and to explain how I came to fall in love with the infinite banking concept. To begin with, I graduated from the University of Washington with a concentration in finance, without any intention to go into the financial services industry at that time. In fact, while I was a junior at the university, I started my path as an entrepreneur by buying out the owners of the coffee stand I worked for at that time, despite the fact that location we were in would need to be torn down in a matter of months because they were going to be remodeling the area. And then my senior year, I had quite the learning experience relocating that business across the street. Those are some fun stories, let me tell you. So after running my newly relocated business for about a year, a good friend of mine from college asked if I wanted to buy her friend's business, who had outgrown their current location in the Pike Place Market in downtown Seattle. I told her, well, since I just opened my coffee stand a year ago, I'm not really in the position or ready to buy and run a second location. Instead, how about we partner up and take over the restaurant together? And so she agreed, and we did. We sold coffee there. We made and sold bagels, muffins, all kinds of pastries from scratch. We even did breakfast and lunch and even started catering business lunches in the area. That time period was a lot of fun working those two businesses. And about another year later, I was approached by a company with a multi-level marketing structure that believed in buying term insurance and buying only term insurance and investing the difference. I was 24 at the time. I remember being approached and thinking, wow, life insurance, it does sound important. I mean, we're all going to go someday. I better get me some of that so that if something or that when something happens to me, my parents or someone will get something. The company was amazed at how strongly I believed in and agreed with the life insurance, and they insisted I close all my businesses and leave those businesses and change career paths right away. Well, I thought that was nuts. So instead, I decided to add to it what I was already doing. I would open my coffee stand in the morning, close the cafe in the afternoon, and study the life insurance industry and would help clients in the evening. After doing that for a while, I quickly realized that no one wanted to talk about life insurance. I thought, what do people want to talk about? I know, retirement. They want to talk about being able to stop working. That's what people like. So I became licensed to help clients with mutual funds and their retirement accounts. About 3 years later, the owner of the land where I had my coffee stand introduced me to his financial advisor at Merrill Lynch. I was trying to get my coffee stand business off the ground at that time, running without me. It was already there about 7 years, almost 7 years, but I wanted to be able to step away from it and have it run without me. And so we had already sold the cafe in the Pike Place Market. My landlord's financial advising team, they needed an assistant at the time. And so after interviewing with that advisor and his team, I was told that I wasn't qualified to be the team's assistant, but that they would prefer instead that I become a financial advisor and join the team. That seemed a little strange to me, to be honest, at the time, but of course I accepted. And lucky me, I got to be there during 2008 when the market had that nice big fat meltdown that I'm sure most of you remember like it was yesterday, or maybe that's just me. That was a chaotic time. And during that chaotic time, I remember looking around me and thinking, wow, so many highly skilled advisors who have been here much longer than me and are great at what they do. And not one of us was able to keep our clients from losing roughly 40%. No one was diversified enough. It didn't matter how much study, research, due diligence was done. Now, going off on a small tangent here, my personal beliefs on being diversified means to be diversified with products that are also outside of the market, not just within the market. Anyhow, it was at that moment when I thought to myself, wow, how am I really helping clients reach their retirement goals if I'm not diversifying into other assets, assets that provide safety? How can I, with confidence, state that this mix or that is going to get them to their retirement goals when actually I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and neither does anybody else? I could do a ton of due diligence and feel very confident about a portfolio for a client, and tomorrow I could do the exact opposite of what was expected. As you all know, that time was devastating for many, and unfortunately, I was able to see the frustration and heartbreak of those who were planning to retire tomorrow, who now felt they could never retire. So I ended up leaving the industry for about a year. During that year, I went to work for an assisted living company where my eyes were opened to the expense of that type of care and how important long-term care insurance is. So a year later, I met an agency manager who shared with me that there are life insurance products that have a floor so that you don't have to lose money when the market goes down, and also a ceiling so that you can still capture upside when the market is doing well. Well, this sounded cool to me and exciting. So I got back into the industry to learn this other side of the business where there were these guarantees in place, a word we could never say in the investment world. And I learned this concept, or I learned how to do this for people. I started helping clients with this cool new tool in my belt that I thought was just the best. That is until I met my mentor, Joe Pantozzi. I attended a NAIFA dinner in Seattle, and that stands for National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors. I simply had nowhere to sit and then found a seat next to this kind gentleman. We hit it off right away and had a blast getting to know each other. And while we were talking, he started to tell me about the infinite banking concept and how it's a strategy based on whole life insurance. He shared how he learned this powerful strategy and how it became something he loved to teach. He shared how he was using this strategy in his own personal life and in his business. And I remember thinking, oh, well, this sounds like it may be difficult to learn. I finally feel like I have a wide range of diversified financial vehicles to help my clients, and I'm feeling good about the ways I can help someone. I don't think I need to add another complicated method. I think I'm good. But then the following week, I ended up discovering that my new friend Joe happened to be the top agent in the company, in the nation at that time. Whoops. My stomach dropped and I thought frantically, what was he telling me again? He had told me to read a book or something. What was the name of that book? I was sad that I hadn't listened more carefully. I tried reaching out and emailing him. I'm sure my email got buried in seconds. I didn't hear back from him. I finally saw him again at the company leaders conference about 6 months later. I was super excited. I ran right up and said, hey, do you remember me? We sat next to each other at a dinner about 6 months ago. Yeah, you had told me that I should read a book or something. I can't remember the name of it. Do you know what book you were referring to? And can you tell me the name of it again? Well, yes, he said right away. It's Becoming Your Own Banker by Nelson Nash. And when you're done reading it, feel free to reach out and I will go over it with you. Well, I acquired the book right away, read it, and gave him a call. Although it wasn't until he started to review the book with me that my mind was blown just wide open. I said, why doesn't everybody know this information? This information is important and something that everyone should know. What's happening with our money, what banks are doing with our money. These things should be widely known, taught in school. I became just so excited about what I had just learned and told him, this is powerful and important. I need to teach this to people. I want and I need to teach this to people, except that I don't know how to teach it to people. Would you be willing to teach me how to teach others? And he so graciously said, yes. I was so thrilled. And so we partnered up, we started working together, and he helped me with all of my clients who were interested in learning this for about 2+ years. In the beginning, when we first started working together, and I didn't have enough knowledge to guide someone through this learning process, I found myself often saying things like, look, This information is so important. I don't even care if you decide you want to do this or not. I just think you need to learn it. I think everybody should learn this information. In fact, I'm not even able to teach you this myself yet. But if you're willing to learn, I don't want you to wait until I can teach you. It's just too important. Thankfully, I'm working with someone who's highly knowledgeable in this. And the thing is, he won't meet with you unless you read this book. So I want to strongly encourage you to read it. While Joe and I were working together, I learned that he was taught by Nelson Nash himself and that they were very close friends. What a huge blessing and awesome privilege to learn from the best and to learn by watching and hearing Joe teach. We did all of our appointments by online conference before there was Zoom and before it was normal. Because of Joe and Nelson's close relationship, I also had the opportunity to sit in on Nelson Nash trainings and learn directly from the source. People sometimes think this is new information, but whole life insurance has actually been around for over 200 years. Nelson was just the first person to write a book about this concept and teach us how to use it in this way. I will be forever grateful to that man for writing his book, Becoming Your Own Banker, and to my mentor, Joe Pantozzi, for teaching me how to help others. There is no doubt it has changed my life. Now, I do help my clients in numerous important ways based on their needs and financial goals, though my favorite thing to teach has become the infinite banking concept. This foundational strategy is fitting for many people. If you would like to know how it might be fitting for you, please reach out. So some of you might be asking yourself, what is the infinite banking concept? Well, it's a lot of things. For one, it's a way to build wealth that you can access income tax-free all of your life and in retirement. You are able to fund this vehicle at almost any level, as in there's really no maximum. It's a way to take control of your cash and start retaining the earning power of as many dollars as possible that regularly run through your fingers. Nelson would say, you finance everything you buy. You either pay interest to someone else or you give up interest that you could have earned. The infinite banking concept teaches a way to keep your money in motion while you're building wealth, doing more than one thing for you at the same time, in the same way or similar way that banks are doing now with your deposit money. Except you get to benefit from this system rather than the bank. You will get to start recapturing interest that you would otherwise be paying to banks. You might be wondering, how do banks make money anyway? Well, that is a topic we will be covering in an episode coming soon. What are the benefits to this strategy, you might be asking yourself? Well, there are quite a lot of benefits to this strategy, and that we will be diving into soon as well. Most importantly, this podcast will teach you how to build a system where you are acting as your own banker, where you are in control. A system you can use to finance future purchases where you are the one to decide the terms of your loan and what your monthly payment will be. Or maybe you want to pay off debts to outside banks. Or if you prefer, you might choose to allocate those funds to investments you believe in. This system teaches you how you can create your own holding tank for your cash that will do so much more for you than any bank account you currently have access to. I know many of you found this show because infinite banking is something that you are seeking more information and knowledge about. My hope is that my having been able to learn some from Nelson Nash himself and mentored by one of the best in the country will translate to be an excellent source of learning for you. Now, I will always suggest reading a book for a more firm understanding. And since Nelson Nash wrote the first book on the topic, that every book that's been written on the topic has stemmed from, and everyone's knowledge has originated from in one way or another, I would suggest one of his books. Becoming Your Own Banker is a great place to start, or another great book, which Nelson Nash was an author of, that's called The Case for IBC. That book was written by two additional authors, Robert Murphy and Carlos Lara. Robert being a PhD economist and Carlos having counseled and worked with business owners for decades who are in financial distress. The three of them together wrote an excellent book that is short and captivating. Business owners, you will want to pick this one up for sure. Robert and Carlos are both excellent sources of information. I'm thankful that I get to see and learn from them every year at the Infinite Banking Think Tank. If you pick up one of these books and you find any part of them confusing, please reach out. I'm here to help teach those who want to learn, and we can review everything you've read. So in our next episode, we will go into the reason behind why building a pool of cash you can access tax-free is becoming more and more important. Please reach out with any questions to Valerie at alphaomegawealth.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope my story was interesting. Until next time, have a great week.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.